Welcome to my tutorial about how to improvise over Blue Bossa with only using scales for B-flat instruments. So part one of is using scales. Step one is to analyze the key of the song in order to find what scales we could use or we have to use. So here's the song. We look at the key signature. We have one B, that is F major or D minor. If you don't know about this stuff, check out my tutorial about keys and scales. So now we know it's either in F major or in D minor. To be sure, we have to look at the last tone of the melody. Keep in mind it's the last note of the song here is only played when you repeat the melody. So here we have an A as last melody note, and that doesn't help us because it is neither an F nor a D. So normally, or very often, the last tone of the melody is the root. In this case, it's the fifth or the third. But when we look on the chords, on the last chord, and even on the chords of the tune, sometimes just ever look around the tune and there's no F major at all, so why should it be F major, you know? Though it's obviously here a D minor. Okay, now we should have take a closer look at the chords, and because the chord or the bass tone, if you play with a bass player without piano, he's playing the chords as well. The chord makes the character of the melody note. So try it out yourself. You know, play a C chord over, and then play a C, and then play a B chord and play a C as a melody note, and you will recognize the C sounds terrible if you play a B chord. If you have no harmony instrument, just play a C major scale 3 times, and then play a C, and then play a B major scale 3 times, and then play a C. It's the same effect. So even if a C is a C, the moment a chord comes, it will change its color. So we have all the different chords in the song, different chords. The D minor, the G minor, the E minor 7, flat 5, the A7, flat 9. But let's just ignore the flat 9. It's not important when playing with scales in the moment. It's important when playing with chord notes in the next tutorial. An F minor 7, a B flat 7, and an E flat major 7. Good. Let's have a closer look how they are built. So if you don't know about chords, just check out my tutorial about chords and even a cadences, which we need later. So as we can see here, by ignoring the C sharp, just don't look at it. We have B flat for we have no accidental at the D minor, then we have a B flat till the A7, and then starting from the F minor, things change because we got an E flat and an A flat. So obviously the key is changing here. But we want to have a deeper look to understand this better. what this means with the C sharp. So even if the song is in D minor, we look at the changes in F major, which is a parallel major to D minor, so that we can see how the normal state is, and then could understand better what happens in minor. So in major, it's clearly there is no, as you can see here, there's a minor chord. This is normal, first degree, second degree, third, if you have already common with improvisation or with looking at chords, you have this traditional 2, 5, 1, which is a minor chord, a dominant chord, and a major chord. Now we rearrange it to see how it is in minor. So we start with D minor, E minor flat 7, so just change the order, and now we can see that on the 5th degree there is a minor chord, and we need a dominant 7, minimal, at least we need a major triad to state the key of D minor. A key always needs a tonic and a dominant, and here we don't have a dominant. That's why we have to change, you have to change the 5th degree to a major chord in minor. So, to a dominant 7 chord. Now we have a look at the remaining chords which are left, the F minor, the B flat 7 and the E flat major 7, because none of them is part of the F major or D minor scale. So where do those come from? Well, obviously the E flat major is either a tonic or a subdominant. Let's assume first that it's a tonic. So we write down the changes from the E flat major scale to see whether it makes sense. And as you can see already, the F minor is on the second degree and the B flat is on the 5th degree, which is of course 2 minor 7, 5, 7, 1 major cadence here perfectly. So we know now that the E flat major is definitely a tonic, and that the tune starting with the F minor 7 changes its color and moves from D minor to E flat major 7 till the E minor 7 flat 5 comes again, and it changes to D minor again. So here's a quicker way to find cadences using the circle of fifths. Just take at any point, just make a 1 and then go clockwise. Then you have the 5th degree, the dominant, and then you have the 2nd degree, which is the parallel of the subdominant. So the result is that we need at least 2 scales to improvise over Blue Bossa. We need the D minor scale or the F major scale, which is the same. Keep in mind that they have the same tones. So what makes the difference is the focus you put on your melodies, which note or which tone you focus. Like being in D minor, you would focus on the D. Being in F major, you would focus on the F. As I said before, we will ignore the C sharp of the A7 because it lasts only 1 bar, and since it is a altered chord, meaning has a flat 9, or as well has a sharp 9, and the sharp 9 is a C, so the C will sound perfect You will recognize it when you play it. One thing you should keep in mind is there are only two different tones between D minor and E flat major. It's not something totally different. Sometimes students, they think there's a new scale coming and everything changes, but no, not at all. So only two tones changing, and you can see it here. It's like you have the D minor scale and the E flat major scale. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 common tones. What I say is not so dangerous, maybe to play a wrong note. Okay. Now on the sheet we can mark it like this. It would be good for you to do this in your sheets. Just mark it, that on the, and when you improvise, look at the sheet to see what's happening. So we have the D minor scale for the first 8 bars and then the last 4 bars, and in between we modulate to the E flat major scale. Here's some tips for you. Often when students play think in scales, they start with the root and go upwards, or they go downwards, always upwards, 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 and downwards, downwards. But this won't sound good. It's better to imagine the root is in the middle of the scale. You go some tones up and some tones down and back to the root. So that's very important in the beginning. Just always start with the root and try to end with the root. This makes your melodies sound logical. Because our ears, they love melodies that are waving around the root, like this, for instance. Just going up, down, and then back to the root. It's pretty good. You couldn't do so much wrong if you play in this manner. When you get familiar to the scales, to the changing of the scales, the next step is to focus on the root of the chord of the moment. That means if you come to the G minor, play a G, and do the same thing with this waving around the G, and then waving around. If you come to the B flat, waving around the B flat. Because this would sound more logical, and as well you train, it's the first step to train playing with chord tones. So you think only in scales and just have this one root here, root here, root here. That starts your process of thinking while you play, because this is very important when playing with chord tones. The way we do now is called the modal way, or the horizontal way of playing with scales, and this is very, very dangerous to get bored, to get boring for others, for the people you're listening to you, or even more important, the people who play with you. If a bass player, imagine a bass player is playing 5 minutes. If he has 3 solists, he's playing 5 minutes just walking bass or whatever. And he's just listening, and if you bore him, he will, that suck him, he will lose his energy, his fun. So try to think in small phrases in the beginning. Just play 4, 3 notes, focus on the rhythm, not on the notes, play interesting rhythm, listen to the drummer, and it's like a language, don't play like politicians talk, without any, they have no sentence at all, it's just one long sentence. And some musicians play like this, and this is very boring, even if it's, technically very on a high level. After a while it's boring, and so focus on small melodies. The best thing is you play a melody like doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-bop, ba-doo-ba-dee-bop, bop-bop-boom-doo-doo, doo-doo-ba-doo-doo-ba-dum. This is like, you listen to what you've been playing, to what you've played, and then give yourself the answer. And this way you communicate with yourself and everyone is understanding what you're doing, and after a while you can start to play bigger, longer lines. So very, very important that you always focus on your ear. It's much more important when you play in a modal way to listen to what you play than when playing over chords with keeping chords in your mind. You have to think so much. You won't play too much in the beginning because you have so much to think about. But scales is always a trap to doodle around. So music is like a language, you know. You need like waves in what you say. Sometimes it's short and you make a short sentence, then make a long sentence. Just like telling a story, not like talking like a politician. Yeah, I think that's clear. Good. Now we have enough theory. Now it's time for you to play. You get 3 choruses of Blue Bossa. But before, if you like the tutorial, share it with your friends on your social media sites. Give me more subscribers, which is important in YouTube nowadays to get the chance to earn money. In the moment, I don't earn anything. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials, and of course, if this video did help you and you liked it, I'm happy to get support and respect in form of money, because I need money to live and to have time to make such tutorials. You can do this in my shop by just donating whatever you want. And now, have fun with playing Blue Bossa.